Let's learn Shaco. Lesson 1. Semicircle. This is the most important lesson in the entire guide. Even though your passive is called Backstab, you do not have to be directly behind someone to proc it. Can you see how I am backstabbing this dummy despite being slightly to the left and then slightly to the right? That's because there is an invisible semicircle behind them, and if you auto-attack someone within this semicircle, you will proc Backstab. This works on jungle camps, minions, and of course enemy champs, and sometimes I wish you could do it to your own teammates. Lesson 2. The Invisible Demon King. While blinking, Shaco will end a stealth that lasts 2.5 seconds all the way up to 3.5 seconds depending on how many points in Q you have. Now while in stealth, the enemy champions cannot see you unless they have true sight, like from a tower, a scry orb, a Kaiser W, speaking of, a Rengar ultimate or Twisted Fate ultimate. TF's Destiny is super annoying by the way, because even after you use your ultimate, the real Shaco will have the eye above its head. Now Shaco will break this stealth on his own when he deals any form of damage unless it's from his W or his ultimate, and when he recalls. It's also crucial to remember that your stealth does not break when you cast W or your R, you will remain inside of it. Importantly, Shaco's Q cooldown starts when he comes out of stealth. See how my Q's cooldown is 13 seconds when I break stealth instantly, and when I break stealth as late as possible? So one trick when you are just queuing around the map for fun is to queue and recall straight away. This puts it on a quicker cooldown so you can queue again sooner. Lesson 3. Boo. Any enemy that runs into your W's radius will trigger the box's fear and damage. This fear lasts half a second and scales up to 1.5 seconds the more points in W. And as for the damage, this increases the more points you have in your W also. Any enemy that gets feared by the box will face away from the box. So in other words, they will have their back to it. And what does this mean for Shaco? Backstabs. In this clip, can you see what I do just before Kindred gets feared? I click towards her, so as soon as she turns away, because of the fear, I am backstabbing her. This lets me get in 2 important backstabs and is the foundation to winning this fight. Lesson 4. The damage. When the dagger hits the enemy, it deals magic damage that increases the more points you have in your E. Like the slow in your 2 Shiv poison, the damage also increases when the enemy is less than 30% HP. So using your E as an execute is often the best tactic. In this clip, I am already on top of the Orianna, so using my E to slow her is pointless. I can save it, so if she ever flashes just like this, I can then slow and damage her as much as possible, and this allows me to catch up so I can auto-attack again. Lesson 5. Choose your destination. Shaco will vanish and then reappear towards your cursor, along with a clone of himself that appears in the opposite direction to your cursor. This means that as you are about to press R, you can choose where you want Shaco to appear when he comes out of it. See in this clip how I move my cursor away from the echo above me as I press R? This allows me to outspace him and he cannot damage me. In this clip, after I ambush the Varus, look at where I move my cursor as I press R. This is away from the rest of the enemy champions, so I am untouched this entire fight. It's also important to remember that you are technically dashing when you come out of your ultimate, so if you are close enough to certain terrain, you can actually jump over it. See how Shaco time is close enough to this wall, so he sends his R over to bait the enemy Maokai? It's just a shame Maokai warded just before he did this, so he knows the clone is the imposter. But don't worry, we will go through some of the most important R spots in the mechanics chapter. Lesson 6. Q backstab move times 3. Q in, backstab and move. Backstab and move, backstab and move. Instead of just backstabbing and moving once, you're doing it another 2 times, 3 times in total. Why? Because this is how many Hail of Blades auto attacks you have. 3. The extra attack speed enables you to fire off these 3 attacks quickly, and when you E, it's the highest DPS combo you have before level 6 of course. In this clip from earlier, I know Kalista can create space quickly, so I need to be precise when I backstab the first time and then move, and the same again, and the same again. Before I use E, look at the damage I've dealt because of this combo. In this clip, see how Shaco backstabs Nami and moves the first time? Perfection. Then he attacks again, but doesn't move. This stops him from being close to auto attack for a 3rd time, and misses this kill purely because this combo is not 100% muscle memoried. Lesson 7. Q and E. Q in, and E the enemy. That's simple. When an enemy is super low HP, you can catch them by surprise and pick up free kills. It's useful to keep a visual note of your E's range so that when you Q in, you can instantly E. In this clip, the Shaco Qs towards the low HP enemy and then E's to finish her off. In this clip, I know the Sejuani is too healthy, but the Zeri, well, she is killable. That's why I Q over the Sejuani and quickly move my cursor to the Zeri, and then I press E. You can also use this to gap close and slow enemies who are trying to run away from you and your teammates. Like in this clip, the Nocturne is clicking away from us, so I use my Q to gap close, and then my E to slow him as soon as possible. Same here, the enemy Jax is between Shaco and his teammate Diana, so he Qs in and E's the Jax to slow him down so Shaco can catch up. Just a quick tip, toggling your target champion's only hotkey as you do this will ensure you don't hit minions and monsters. Lesson 8. R Assassination. Q into the path of the enemy champion, and as you are right on top of them, R to the side so both you and your clone backstab the target. As I Q in towards the enemy Ezreal, I get right behind him before moving my cursor to the side. This means that both Shaco and the clone will appear behind the target, and therefore we get double the backstabs. In this clip, see how I R to the side of the Aphelios so both me and the clone are in a backstabbable position? This allows me to deal as much damage to the enemy as possible in the shortest amount of time. Unfortunately, he flashes and the enemy support uses heal, but the combo is what we are focusing on, alright? Relax. In this clip, see how my mouse is too high when I press R? That means my clone appears in front of Ezreal and not behind him. This damage matters because I lose way more HP than I should. If we watch this clip one more time, the reason I R so only Shaco is behind Ezreal is because I was scared my Q stealth would run out. So if you are worried about that, just make sure you R so Shaco is in a backstabbable position. Lesson 9. Q, backstab, backstab, R. Q in, backstab twice, and R away from the enemy. This is a very specific combo, but one of the most popular combos you will use. The reason this is so important is because enemy players generally react to your showing after 2 of your attacks, and if this enemy champion has dashes and flashes or big spells, they will react very quickly. In this clip, I see the Mel trying to escape, so I backstab her once, twice, and then press R to the side so I dodge her reaction. I also put a box down mid combo, but don't worry about those style points for now. In this clip, I Q into the Vi and backstab twice and then press R away to dodge her Q. In this clip, I Q in and see Belveth in this brush with Blitzcrank right behind her. So I even put a box down as I'm about to backstab and then backstab twice and then press R. In this clip, Shaco time Qs towards the enemy Aatrox and knows that Aatrox's W, that slows and pulls you back to the center, is a key spell to dodge. So he backstabs twice. Oh wait, he stalls his second auto attack, unlucky, but still, the idea is correct. 2 backstabs, and then he Rs the Aatrox W perfectly. This combo also empowers your clone with permanent Halo Blades. In this clip, when Shaco backstabs the Ashe once and then twice, Ashe has had enough time to react. This is why when Shaco goes for that 3rd backstab, he gets caught by the Ashe ultimate and perishes. This guide is just a small sample from our Shaco Fundamentals course on Donbeshi. The full course contains over 100 interactive lessons and over 100 quizzes, taking you from the fundamentals all the way to champion mastery. If you're ready to actually test yourself instead of just watching guides, check out Donbeshi. Choose between fundamentals or upgrade to mastery for advanced lessons, advanced quizzes, matchup guides, VOD reviews, drafting masterclasses, and much more. Start climbing smarter by clicking the link to our website down below. Lesson 10. Closing space. One purpose for queuing towards an enemy champion is closing the space between Shaco and the target, and this will be the case when the enemy is too close to either their tower or their teammates. In this clip, if I were to just run at the Caitlyn and Lux, the tower would see me running around the corner of this wall, and that gives the enemy bot lane time to run back to their tower. So I may be behind them, but I don't have that much space to work with, so I queue. In this clip, the Volibear is ghosting away from Shaco. This means Volibear is getting closer and closer to his safety, so Shaco's only hope of killing the enemy top laner is by using his Q to get in range to E. A basic rule of thumb is this: if you can run behind the enemy and they are not that close to their tower, then there is no need to use your Q to close that space. You can do that by just movement commanding Shaco. For example, Shaco decides to gank this Yasuo. Instead of wasting his Q, he can just run at the Yasuo because he is already behind him and Yasuo is pretty far away from his tower. This is optimal because when Yasuo tries to dash away, Shaco can now use his Q to close that space and finish Yasuo off. Perfection. Lesson 11. W on waves. One of the deadliest tricks when ganking is using your box on minions. When you gank and place your box in the lane, enemy champions will see your box and try to avoid it. But if you place it on a wave, especially in the direction they want to escape to, you can fear the enemy champion off the minion wave. In this clip, see how I place this box where the enemy wave will be, and the effect of this? Nautilus gets feared. Can you imagine if the minion wave did not trigger the box? Nautilus would have just ran off. Same thing against this Victor. If I box outside the wave, Victor will get scared and probably flash away. So by boxing the wave, Victor probably thinks he's safe even though he is outside the activation range. Unfortunately for him, he is still inside the fear range and I get a kill purely because of this technique. Lesson 12. Damage? Your E does more damage the lower HP someone is, we know this, so why use it early? Hold it for as long as possible. Like in this clip, I could E the Yanara at any point, but why E when I can auto attack and then wait for my teammates to chip away at a health bar? This allows me to max out my E's damage and execute the Yanara. In this clip, it's slightly different. I Q over to gank the Aurelia, but she is not full HP. She is already very low, and because I want to get an assist or a kill, I make sure to use my Ignite and E combo so I get some golden experience. Again though, I am Eing for damage here. Lesson 13. Saving Q for next camp. You always want to have your Q available so you can Q to your next camp. In this clip, see how Shaco Qs the Backstab red buff? This is bad because now he doesn't have Q for Krugs when he finishes red buff, so he has to run all the way around. If you are going to Q camps, make sure it's at the start of the camp, not near the end. If you Q when the camp is almost dead, just like this, you're not only quite far away from your next camp, but you can't Q Backstab to start the next camp. Just like in this clip, the Shaco uses his Q to Q Backstab the big raptor, which deals some good damage, but what is the issue with this? That's right, now the Shaco cannot Q immediately to Krugs, and he could have placed his box to finish off the raptors for him. The only time you want to use your Q near the end of a camp is when you are going to recall, just like I do here. I Q Backstab the red buff for more damage, so I can recall earlier. Lesson 14. Closer, the better. When you place your box, you want your box to tank the camp. Jungle camps will attack the closest visible thing to them, so if your box is closer to the camp than you are, then the camp will hit your box. See how easy it is to backstab the red buff when my box is right next to it? When you place your box further away than what you are to the camp, see how it makes it slightly awkward? Compared to this clip when I place it basically on top of the red buff, there's a big difference. Remember, for any of the river objectives like Dragon, Grubs, and Rifthold, you do not want your box to be closer because it will die instantly. This Shaco puts his box too close to the Dragon, and the Dragon hits the box and kills it. With the standard jungle camps, they do not one-shot your box though, so box closer to these camps. Even Canyon makes this mistake. In this clip, he places his box between both grubs and it dies almost instantly. You need to make sure Shaco is closer on these river objectives so your box can deal its important damage. Lesson 15. The finisher. Use your E to finish off the camp as you move to your next play. This means that Shaco is as close to his next play as possible and therefore saves time. Same here. Shaco saves his E so he can finish off the crab as he starts his recall. In this clip, see how Shaco's E does not finish off Gromp? He should have saved his E here and moved towards Wolves, Eing back to Gromp to finish off the Toad.